Of course, UNIDO is a specialized agency of the United Nations system that is responsible for promoting industrial development. And in this particular context, in this decade, we are promoting inclusive and sustainable industrial development. And in Tanzania, that means, and also globally, that means supporting our member states or supporting our program countries to advance the competitiveness of their economies, and also ensuring that the prosperity thereof is shared with the population. That means leaving no one behind, but also we support programs that aim at safeguarding the environment.
So the United Nations is commemorating or celebrating 75 years of its presence, and we see that the world over has been affected by the coronavirus disease. How would you, first of all, say the coronavirus disease has affected industries in Tanzania and maybe around the world?
Yeah, the pandemic has affected everybody. Industries, individuals, institutions have all been affected. And I think that globally, there has been a major hit on the functioning of industries. There has been a lot of layoffs because of the drop in production. And there has been a lot of disruptions in supply chains. And for that matter, Tanzania has been affected because the global value chains means interdependencies with other countries. So countries where the pandemic has been really worse are both market targets for Tanzania, but they are also sources of imported commodities. So in that way, many industries, in my conversations with the Confederation of Tanzania Industries, we have been informed that smaller industries have even closed. They don't have operations anymore. But some of them have quickly come up to their legs, because Tanzania is one of the few countries that didn't have to undergo a lockdown, and I have to commend the government for the way they have managed the COVID pandemic so far. And it seems that even tourism is picking up in the country. So yes, there have been some negative impacts. The supply chains have been affected. I'm aware, for instance, the horticulture industry has been deeply impacted, but this is also picking up.
And how is UNIDO supporting farmers or supporting people who are in the industrial sector to recover from this pandemic?
In particular, we are supporting. We have global publications that we have released that are aimed at helping medium, small, and micro enterprises to recover. What some of the digital solutions that they can introduce in their systems to recover, and also underscoring the importance of local production. Yes, it's important to have to be part of the global value chains, but local production has to be promoted. And I think more than ever before, the pandemic has woken us up, to this possibility. Quite recently, we worked with with TanTrade to support disadvantaged people, actually visually impaired people, to produce masks, to also be supplied to vulnerable people. We think that vulnerable communities. We think that this is a little way to demonstrate that Tanzania has the capacity, when required, to produce the required protective gear. And I believe that the capacity does not only limit to the production of masks. They can also produce other gears related to gowns, or maybe even ventilators. So in this direction, I think UNIDO will work with small and medium enterprises to support them, build the capacity for this response, but generally also on the issue of medical capacity. UNIDO is known for some years. We supported the African Union to develop the pharmaceutical manufacturing plan for Africa. And I think that Tanzania can benefit from this, because there are a lot of essential medicines and equipment that can be produced by Tanzania, COVID or no COVID. There are other diseases as well that Tanzania needs to address. So our support in the recovery process will be aimed at boosting the capacity of the country to address some of these challenges that have been laid bare or that have been made more obvious as a result of the pandemic.
And what are the major milestones that UNIDO has achieved over the years here in Tanzania?
Here in Tanzania, I probably would say The pleasant thing is that UNIDO has been a preferred partner by government, let me put it that way. We have enjoyed the support of government throughout UNIDO's stay in Tanzania. We have always had good relations with the Minister of Industry. We have had good relations with the Vice President of it, and I must say across the government entities. So largely our work has been of a technical capacity support nature, and right now our activities center mostly around supporting industrial development entities. This means the likes of SIDO, the likes of TEMDO, the likes of TIRDO that have been established by government and whose responsibility is to support medium and small industries. I'll give you an example of TEMDO, where they are responsible for the manufacture of equipment. We have provided them with computerized equipment that would reduce the time required for the preparation of prototypes onto production. So, and TEMDO has now the capacity to produce a lot of different equipment, including oil processing equipment. We have worked also, for example, with the College of Engineering and Technology of the University of Dar es Salaam. We have been able to partner with them, and they have become now a center of excellence for small and medium hydropower technology. As I speak to you, and this probably many people don't know, the College of Engineering and Technology has produced and has the capacity to continue to produce turbines in Tanzania, hydropower turbines. In fact, they have already produced turbines that have been exported to another neighboring country. And I know that some of these turbines have been installed in some locations in Tanzania. So for us, this is an important capacity building story, because it's not just about implementing a project and ending it. It's about having institutions that take on these interventions and are able to expand them even to scale. I can give you another example of where I am told that, in fact, what today is the National Business Council of Tanzania, which is normally chaired by His Excellency the President, actually had its origin from a UNIDO-supported project. Today we are probably not in the center of it, but we're happy to see that grow into a dialogue platform between government and the private sector, so that they are able to see or support the whole agenda of making Tanzania grow economically from now that they are a middle income, lower middle income country, even to a higher middle income country. Why not? I can give you also another example of an ongoing program where we have responded to the demand of government, or to the goal, the plan of government to address the challenges that relate to deforestation, challenges that relate to the use of charcoal to prepare food, which, as you know, is one of the biggest killers for women and children, not only in Tanzania, but in developing countries due to indoor air pollution. So we have worked, for instance, then with the Vice President's Office, Directorate of Environment, to develop a project that is promoting clean cooking solutions, meaning the use of specialized stoves and the use of bioethanol, which is a product of sugarcane, as fuel for cooking. In Tanzania, we are addressing 500,000 households, so we are talking of, if it's an average of 6 people per household, you're talking of 3 million beneficiaries initially in the first phase of the project. So some of these interventions are important, not only because we are addressing a health issue, or we are addressing a deforestation, an environmental issue, but also because we are introducing new industries. The stoves, for instance, that I'm telling you about, initially are being assembled in Tanzania. And eventually they will be produced, they will be manufactured in Tanzania. So that's a completely new industry that's going to develop in Tanzania. And this is why we are working with the Tanzania Bureau of Standards to already start to develop standards for the production, for the manufacture of these stoves. Similarly, the bioethanol that would normally perhaps not be produced because it comes from molasses, which is the byproduct of sugarcane, of sugar manufacture, now is being converted to bioethanol, and the market is big. Private sector have come in, which is the story we want to tell. It's not about UNIDO doing it, but it's about creating space for private sector players to come into the picture and expand the entire intervention. So as I speak to you, Consumer Choice Limited was the company that won the bid to supply the stoves and to also supply the bioethanol. On their own, they have already invested in the establishment of a bottling plant here in Dar es Salaam, also in the establishment of the assembly plant. So this is already some key result that is coming from the project. We have similarly structured projects even for the energy project. We have developers, private sector developers, who have now gone into the development of energy generation systems that are utilizing waste. For example, the cashew shell is now being produced to biodiesel that is used to run factories, generators for factories, and I can go on. So this type of interventions for us are important. The project of itself may not be a huge project, but because we structure it in a way that empowers institutions and private sector to take it on and run to scale, then I think we probably can say our partnership with the private sector and government has led to tangible results.
Thank you very much. But I just want to follow up on a few questions. I know you mentioned Tirdo, Temdo, but for the sake of our listeners who are not in Tanzania with us, maybe you could elaborate first what those terms are, and then we'll move on to the next part.
Yes, my apologies. Temdo is the Tanzanian Engineering Manufacturing Design Organization. It is based in Arusha. This is an entity created by government to support the growth of small and medium enterprises. And one of their primary roles is to design equipment that are used by small and medium entrepreneurs. So our partnership has led to helping them with the necessary machinery to help them produce this equipment. I give you one instance of where we have supported them in the past, and in one of my visits to Temdo, I was shown the design of plows that are being used to attach to tractors so that farmers can use. These are all being produced and designed and produced by Temdo. They have also recently produced a windmill that they have installed in a location, I've forgotten the name, near Arusha, where they themselves, using the software and the equipment that we supply to them, they have been able to produce more and more machinery, but also venture into renewable energies. In the case of TIRDO, which is the Tanzanian Industrial Research and Development Organization, the main component of our partnership with them relates to quality. You know, one of the challenges that small and medium enterprises face is a bit of a question mark around the quality of their products. So we have partnered with TIRDO to supply them with specialized machinery that they can use to analyze products from small and medium enterprises to ensure that they meet particular standards, not only national standards, but also international standards. In this way, we are able to support the linkage of small and medium enterprises to larger markets. The domestic market here in Tanzania, for example, also includes tourists that come to this country. So what more can be a bigger ambassador for Tanzania than the tourists that come into this country? Why should they go to a hotel or to a game park, a game reserve, and buy tomatoes that are made in elsewhere? You know, and Tanzania grows a lot of tomatoes. So the issue there, the challenge is how do they process, for instance, ketchup from the ordinary tomatoes, but also making sure it's of a quality that anybody can have confidence in. So this is the type of partnership that I'm describing that we have had with the University of Dar es Salaam, that we have had with the TEMDO, which is the Tanzanian Engineering Manufacturing Design Organization, that we have had with TIRDO, which is the Tanzanian Industrial Research and Development Organization, and a host of other institutions, always on specific issues that is intended to unlock their capacity, build it to a certain extent, and let them continue on to scale.
It's interesting to hear that, but I just wanted to ask you now, Tanzania has become a middle-income country, way ahead of the time when the World Bank expected it to become a middle-income country, which is 2025. What do you have to say about this, transformation and the role that UNIDO has played in ensuring that this country becomes a middle-income country way before the time that was set for it to become? Are there, for example, any specific projects that you would attribute helped Tanzania to reach that level?
I have to be modest here to actually just congratulate Tanzania. This is the work. This is the result of their effort. This is a result of their programs. I would not claim that whilst we have been good partners of Tanzania, I would not claim that this is because of UNIDO. But yes, we're very happy to celebrate this recognition of the country, Tanzania. The one thing I can tell you is that UNIDO's work globally and in the country has helped to ensure that industrial policy making remains the center of national and international development. There was a period, you might know, where industrial development, and for that matter, industrial policy, was challenged by the Washington Consensus and was even thrown off the table. UNIDO fought to keep it at the center of every development discussion. And I would say Tanzania has kept industrial development and industrial policy making at the center of their work. And this is why they have been able to attain middle-income country status way ahead of their time. And I would say, yes, we have worked with the main government here in supporting them in the development of industrial policies. We have also worked with Zanzibar quite recently in developing their 10-year industrial policy. But in all of it, I would like to give the credit to the government of Tanzania. In the case of Zanzibar, for example, we have adopted, as you know, a completely different approach. Gone are those days when we see ourselves as specialized agencies and we come and develop and write the policies for the countries and give it to them and say, go and implement. It has not worked in many countries. What we do now, in fact, is basically accompany the process led by the government of the country, in this case the government of Tanzania, and in particular the government of Zanzibar. Yes, we might have methodologies, we have the tools provided to them, we have a bit of training that we do, but it is their team. And today, nobody knows the industrial policy of Zanzibar more than the Zanzibaris and the officials at the Ministry of Industry who developed it. And it was a cross-cutting work. It was not only Ministry of Industry, because industrial policy or industrial development, yes, it's about Ministry of Industry, but it's also about Ministry of Infrastructure. It's also about Ministry of Agriculture. So there has always been a need for interministerial coordination. And this is something that Tanzania does very well. And I will give credit to that. And this is why I am not surprised that Tanzania has attained this stage. Of course, all of it is due to visionary leadership. Without the right kind of leadership, you can have all the policies, you can have all the documents that you want. It will lead the country to nowhere. And I believe that this has set the foundation for the next stage. As I speak to you, I'm aware and I believe that very soon Tanzania is going to adopt a new model that UNIDO has introduced in many other countries for industrialization. We have piloted it in Ethiopia, we have piloted it in Senegal, we have piloted it in Peru. It's called the Program for Country Partnership, PCP. Tanzania is going to become very soon also a PCP member country. This is a new platform, a multi-stakeholder platform that also recognizes that industrialization is not just about UNIDO. Industrialization is about partnerships, even with the development financial institutions, and I would say including the entire UN. You may be aware that within the UN, one of my languages is to help promote the understanding that when we speak industrialization, it is not just UNIDO. Yes, we are a key player, but others also have a role to play.
You mentioned policy transformations, and I'm looking at the specific, are there any specific policy transformations that UNIDO has intervened with that have impacted directly on the development of the industrial sector? If you could mention, I know you're mentioning the industrial policy, but within it, what is it? What exactly is entailed?
I think the key things here about the policy transformation has to do with the market-driven and export-driven promotion of local industry. And Tanzania has been able to, as I speak now, to demonstrate that they have a manufacturing capacity that relies on the technological capacity of Tanzanians themselves. So this goes all the way back to training. This goes all the way back to the kinds of courses that are taught at tertiary institutions, at universities, and we have been able to see that Tanzania has a level of capital, human capital development that can be built on to promote manufacturing. And this is the key to industrialization. Yes, there is a lot of it about middle income country that's not only attributable to industrialization or manufacturing. It may be attributable to other good factors, maybe income from mining sector. This is also helps to explain why Tanzania has reached the middle income country status. But our main focus has been to support the development of homegrown industries. And this means medium, small, and large enterprises as well. We have always advocated and even now we are advocating also that, hey, it is time to introduce Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is about the use of digital technologies. We have seen, for instance, in Africa, how things have changed from landlines and suddenly shifted to mobile phones connectivity. This is what industrial revolution can do. So whilst Tanzania is growing, it's time to begin to look at the potential that is offered by Industry 4.0. But that is the new use of digitalization of robotics in production systems. It is not impossible. So Tanzania, so what we're doing, helping to do now is to redirect not only Tanzania, but also the whole of East Africa. We had an entire session in Arusha with many countries in the East African region to explain the potential and the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution for industrialization in Tanzania and in the region as a whole. We have even had also now this type of interventions globally. As I speak to you through UNIDO's effort, we now have annually what is called the Global Manufacturing and Industrialization Summit to make sure that topics of industrialization stay in the center. This was already hosted by United Arab Emirates. It's been hosted by Russia, where the president of Russia actually attended the event and addressed the event. And last year, this year it was to be hosted by Germany, but the pandemic has disrupted it. So in this type of global conversations, we help influence the agenda setting. That's our major role. Our role is to help influence agenda setting, contents of industrial policy, and directions and strategy are the decisions of government. But we have the technical capacity to bring to bear what is required, including evidence-based research. You see here the industrial statistics book 2020. These are the productions that UNIDO makes every year. And this is well-known, famous for reference on anything relating to industry. Researchers, academicians all over the world. This is a groundbreaking initiative of UNIDO. So our part of our role, apart from demonstration, proof of concept at project level, we help set the global agenda through our knowledge products.
Thank you very much. And just one last question.
Please.
We've heard so many times from the fifth government led by His Excellency Dr. John Pombe Magufuli about people starting industries. And there's been this sudden rush of everyone, establishing an industry at the backyard of their houses. But I want to hear from you. What is an industry? What would you define to be an industry?
An industry is fundamentally an undertaking, and in our case, we particularly focus on manufacturing. Yeah, and I will tell you, any activity that is able to change, that's able to add value from one stage of the product to another, would qualify as a manufacturing industry. And in this particular context, depending on the natural endowment of the country, I would say in Tanzania, a bigger slice of it is in the agro industries element. That means because of the agrarian nature of the economy, you have industries that focus on processing, for example. Value addition, I mentioned to you, instead of just selling the tomato, raw tomato as it is, you now have industries that convert the raw tomato to tomato concentrate, the paste. There's a company in Arusha that we worked with, Dash Industries, for instance. We worked with them, and now, as I speak to you, they are the largest producers of tomato concentrate in the sub-region. There is also another company that we worked with. It's called Nature Ripe. We supported them in the process to get to ISO 22000 certification, meaning their products can be sold anywhere in the country. So this is about quality, this is about standard. This company in 2018 won, it's a female-led company, by the way. The CEO is a lady, and she was voted the entrepreneur of the year in 2018 for the whole of East Africa. We have worked with several companies here in the country in this value addition or agro-industrialization realm, and in 2 years that we worked with them, almost maximum 3 years, they reported increases in turnover of between 150% to 600%. These companies now are up and running. So our work so let me say, there are small ones, there are medium ones, there are large ones, but the basic principle of industrial and of manufacturing that we promote is about transforming products from one stage to the other. It can be completely raw, it can be semi-processed or semi-transformed, to even more refined, more transformed products. Tanzania has other extractive industries. I mentioned to you the mining industry, but for sure, I think that there are already plans by government to make sure that some of the minerals that are mined are not just exported raw, but they are polished and transformed to higher value. So the whole story of manufacturing is value addition, and any entity that is able to do that qualifies as a manufacturing entity.